Hi, I am Tracy Predmore. I am the Education Coordinator for the Southeast region of Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and I am excited to be here with you guys today to talk about Bighorn sheep, which is our state mammal. Now, some of you have probably joined us over the last couple days and have learned about Colorado Parks and Wildlife, but for those of you who are new today, I just want to tell you a little bit about us. We are a state agency. It is our job to manage 42 state parks that we have all across the state, including Lake Pueblo, which is located in the hometown of the state fair. We also manage over 900 species of wildlife, which include mammals like our bighorn sheep. And it is also our mission to educate you about wildlife and the great natural resources that we have in this state. So like I said, we're going to talk about bighorn sheep. And before we do that, I would like to talk a little bit about the difference between antlers and horns. Those are terms that are often used interchangeably, but they are very different. So let's start with an antler. I have an elk antler here. So antlers are found on the deer family species that we have here in Colorado, which are elk, moose, and deer. This is an elk antler. The antler is actually a bone. This is the fastest growing bone in a mammal. And when it is growing, it is actually covered with a very fine, sensitive hair with lots of blood vessels underneath to help nourish the bone while it's growing. In late fall, the velvet will fall off and we are left with this hardened bone that we are most familiar seeing on deer, elk, and moose. The bone grows from this pedicel, which is on the animal's head, and it is only found on males, with the exception of caribou, which we don't have in Colorado. Both males and females have antlers on caribou, but on our deer, elk, and moose, it's only the males. The antlers are used for mating purposes. They are used to attract females. The larger the antler, typically the healthier the animal is, and they will often use their antlers when fighting for territory or fighting for females. And these are lost, so they fall off every year in late winter, and they are regrown every year, which is pretty impressive that this grows every single year on an animal. All right, let's talk about horns. So I have here a bighorn sheep skull. So horns are actually made of keratin, which is the same material as your fingernails and your hair. And horns are actually grown from specialized hair follicles at the base of the horn, and they grow throughout the life of the animal. So these are not shed, unlike the antlers. These grow every single year. And so you're actually able to age an animal, tell how old it is based on the rings, the growth rings on this horn. And you're going to hear more about that in a video in just a minute. Horns are almost always one single structure. I'm going to show you an example in a minute that's different, unlike the antlers, which have a lot of branches off of them. So these are also used for mating purposes. Again, the larger they are, the older and healthier the animal is. Now, one big difference is that females have horns as well. And so in Colorado, our animals with horns are bighorn sheep, mountain goats, and bison, and pronghorn. So again, these are not lost every year. They are grown throughout the life of the animal, and they're actually a sheath. So this is the bony core in the middle of the sheath, and then the sheath grows around that for the life of the animal. Now, the one difference is the pronghorn, which I have here. So the pronghorn have horns. Now, they do have an actual branch off of the horn, which again is different than all the other animals. And they also have a bony core, and it's a sheath, but they lose this every year and regrow it every year. So it is a little different than the others. Okay, so that is a little background on the difference between horns and antlers. So hopefully you will use those terms correctly. And now I want to show you a really cool video called "What's the Big Deal About Bighorn Sheep?"